Hello, Mike. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, hear you just fine.
Excellent.
Good afternoon, Mike, everybody.
Hey, Tom. Chief Gregory, I see you're on the, I think you're maybe on a phone line. I just unmuted you. Now you should be able to mute yourself if you need to.
Can you hear me, Michael?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good enough.
Oh, got a couple of people that called in. Can you announce yourself, please?
This is Robin Tiemann with Motorola.
All right, there you go now. I got a couple other callers. Can you who's on the line?
Dan Drake, Motorola here.
All right, thanks, Dan.
John Walsh, Mike.
Yeah, okay, cool. John, I see you. Mr. Conley, are you on by any chance? Everybody, at this point, we're just waiting for Chief Brown to get online. We'll give him a couple minutes here and reaching out to him. Still looking for Matt Conley if he's on. Chief Brown's in the house. Give me a couple minutes and we'll get him all set up. Mr. Conley, are you on by any chance? One.
Matt's here, Mike.
Great, okay. We're just waiting on Chief Brown to get the computer fired up here and we'll be going. Please.
Door or no? Yeah.
Thanks for bearing with us, everybody. We're trying to get our legal on here as well.
I'm on, thanks.
Oh, great, okay. Yeah, I see you now, Andy, thanks. Just waiting for our fearless leader, chairman.
Okay, I'm here now.
Great.
I was gonna be earlier, but Mike's got his lieutenant colonel there and they kicked me out. It's very hurtful.
Okay, I don't have to announce it
Okay.
here.
Okay, do we got enough commission members here, Mike?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get started then. We'll call the meeting to order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. All right, if we can have a roll call of the commission members, please.
Chief Brown,
Here.
Chief Amon,
Present.
Chief Gregory,
Here.
Chief Lewis,
Present.
Ms. Vanger,
Here.
Mr. Conley.
Here.
Okay. Moving forward here, does anybody have anything they'd like to add to the agenda? Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
This is Matt. I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
This
And a
is
second?
Deanna, second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. All right, moving on. All right, this is our period for public comment. Mike, did we have anybody submit anything for public
I did
comment? Did not, okay. Then we will move on with the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes of the February 10th, 2022 meeting?
Yes.
Any questions, any comments? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
Steve Lewis, I'll make that motion.
This is Matt. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. All right, moving forward on to reports of officers. Do any commission members have anything that they would like to bring before the group? All right, hearing none, we'll move forward to standing committees. There's nothing to report from the governance committee. So if we can move on to budget, and I believe because Deanna has been named the treasurer, she is now the budget chair. So between Deanna and Matt, would you guys like to, do you have anything you want to report on?
I have nothing at this time, Matt.
Nope.
Okay, one thing we do need to do with our budget committee is since we have a new treasurer and a new chair of that committee, and we've had some people move around. We do need 2 commission members to serve with Deanna on the budget committee. Do we have anybody who would like to volunteer to be on the budget committee?
I'll volunteer. Steve Lewis, I'll volunteer to assist.
Okay, sorry about that, Deanna, but no,
Steve.
Steve's a great guy.
You're gonna have to let me know what you want me to do, Deanna, but I'll help out whatever way I can.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, we have Chief Lewis. Is anybody else?
This is Matt. I'll stay on if I can.
Okay, so there is, and if we have a budget committee there with Matt Conley and Chief Lewis. So is everybody happy, or anybody else want to help on the budget committee? All right, there you go. We have our budget committee. Can I have a motion that we're appointing Chief Steve Lewis and Matt Conley on the budget committee?
This is Chris. I'll make that motion.
A motion, do I get a second?
Second, this is Deanna.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. All right, motion carried. Moving on to the executive director's report. Mike?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody, for your patience and getting going today. The financial report is typical. You've got the fund expenditures, the 5,800 and the 2,800 in front of you in your packet there. There's nothing to highlight from me. Our funding sales tax numbers are also in there, at least the ones from our sales tax. So you'll see the January returns are what show up in March, and they're right about what they were same time last year. And if you look at the far right side of that sheet, everything on there in gray is basically the projections from our budget department with the county of kind of what they expect. And if you look there at some of the bottom lines, they expect numbers, close to within 3% maybe of what we brought in last year. Last year, if you look over in the 2021 column, was a pretty good year for us comparatively to the last 6. So, I guess we're comfortable with that. I hope those numbers show up again this year. The 1% wire line and the 3% prepaid taxes, we print them out at the end of the quarter, so I'll have them for the next meeting. I really don't have anything to show you yet. We don't have those totals. Didn't have them to put in front of you, but we'll get that out next month. Moving on to project updates. Bridgeton, probably everybody's heard this. They publicly announced their intent to move their dispatch services to county PD dispatch. So we will, once that takes place, we will, as we always do, remove the ECC dispatch equipment from their premises with a couple of, we'll probably get a request for them to keep their recorder. We've done that with other consolidating PSAP. So once I see that, I'll bring that to you all. But generally, we've approved those because we don't really have anything to do with those recorders, and they still record. They spent some money on theirs to record some of their admin lines, so they definitely have a need to keep it if possible. So I'll forward that once I see it. That'll be forthcoming. We're going through our divisions in here, our siren and field operations. We had a normal siren test on Monday that we OEM request we canceled due to the weather. However, the following day, you might have noticed on Tuesday, the sirens went off as we were part of the Missouri statewide tornado drill. That's what that was about. We received the normal few phone calls that day, and the media does a pretty good job of letting people know that's coming, as does our social media within the department here. Moving on to GIS. We have a piece of legislation county council's hands right now regarding, we talked about this months and months ago, regarding the ECC's ability to talk with neighboring county PSAP authorities and agree on like 911 call boundaries on fringe areas like near rivers. So that piece of legislation is moving along nicely. I think it's got introduced this past Tuesday. Nikki continues to work on our database cleanup for part of our next gen rollout. And in relation to boundaries, she's actually working with County PD Dispatch on some St. Charles border issues that we'll address with them once we have that authority. Moving on to our network. We're going to talk a little bit about the Nokia microwave upgrade under old business. I'll skip that for now. Our phase 2 dark fiber project is the project where we're looking at ways to get away from Charter. They don't want to handle 911 traffic anymore. So we've been dealing with this for quite a while, but our consultant's helping with us, and then James has worked hard to put a couple of to start the process of getting RFPs together. And that project has been submitted to county procurement, and they are in the process of assigning an agent to work with us. I should probably know that in the next day or two who that'll be, and then we'll keep moving on that project. The next item is kind of a radio and network item, our Genesis, which is our radio locator project, the red button on the radio project. That's been, we've been kicking that around for years, trying to get it to a point where it's functional and we can trust it and we like it. James and Bill just rolled that out last week to all the PSAPs, so they're all equipped now with a computer and a screen. It'll give them a ball of light. It'll give them an indicator of where these radios are if they're in trouble and hit that button. We start the training for that next week. It's actually going to be held here. So while it's out there and in the PSAPs, it's not totally functional yet as we haven't trained them, but a couple hours at our place and we train the trainer and they should be ready to go and have that up and working next week. Radio and Ed's guys are still finishing up the encryption upgrades for law enforcement. I think they're down to about 11 law enforcement agencies. Still on track to finish as scheduled. We've got a piece of equipment. I'm sorry. Did somebody say something?
No, I was telling Greg I have to step out for a fire.
Oh, that's kind of important.
All right. Be careful, Chris.
We've got a piece of equipment we bought. We've had installed on the radio system for quite a while that helps us with some telemetry at determining issues with the radio system. And Ed and his guys just activated a new leg of that software that actually allows us to kind of a metering feature, lets us check radios in the field for tuning purposes. We can see if they're drifting off frequency, and they just got a hold of that stuff and activated it. And the idea is we used to kind of get a pass fail info from the system before. If we had a bad radio out there, we'd find out once it was bad enough that it didn't pass muster. Well, now we can incorporate some of this data and actually keep an eye on radios and see them before they become a problem. We can get them in here and tune them, and that should be a good tool to have in the future. So Ed's working on a way to incorporate that into our day-to-day. That'll be a good tool to have. And lastly, under radio, Chief, this is a good place as any, I guess, to mention it. So the ECC is aware that many of the agencies out there are struggling to find money to either upgrade or replace their radios. Some of them are becoming end of support, and we hear end of life, but truly, if the radio is working, it's going to work until it doesn't anymore. So that's kind of a scary thing to say, end of life. But in terms of support, some of the radios are becoming to a point where they won't be able to get parts, and Motorola won't be able to repair them necessarily. So everybody's looking for radios. They're looking for money for radios. So with that in mind, we talked a little bit about possibly applying for ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act funding, since there's some of that available. I think a lot of the munis probably already got some of that funding. I know the county's got some of that funding as well. So there may be an opportunity there to secure some funding or partial funding for the radio replacement for first responders. I don't know, Chief, do you want to talk about that anymore? Is there anything?
Yeah. Like I said, talked yesterday a little bit about it, and with the county has put out a notice that they're accepting basically applications for project ideas for. They've got $80 million in funding that they're going to allocate to different funds. And I think we need to look at first, as the ECC, if we could be the clearinghouse to start with to try to get the best price we can from Motorola for everybody. And then two, potentially see if we could offer, work with the county to potentially get some of those funds, and whether it's replacement. I don't, Mike, did we ever get with the local government numbers? And I'm just talking about portable radios. I know for the first responders, we've got about 4,000, and then we've got some local government we need to consider radios. if we go forward and try to get the best price, the newest model that they have out is the what is it? The Next radio, I think they call it. Anyhow, it's about $10,000 list price. But if we could get a large enough group together, obviously we could stand to see some pretty significant price reductions there. So we can start talking to them. But I would like to see us to get a small group that's able to work quickly over the next week to come up with, hey, this is kind of our idea. We've had some discussion, some of the munis have already got ARPA money. Does there, or could, if we get money from the county, could we do a cost sharing type of program? Fire districts didn't get any ARPA money, so that theoretically they could go on and just fill out the survey and put a proposal in. But again, I think if we do it together as a group for all of our portable radios, that we could probably get the most bang for our buck. But we need a small group to get together and kind of brainstorm this up and get a loose idea together. Because, and Deanna, I'm looking to you, the application's got to be in by the end of the month? Is that right?
The community survey that we have put out to the public, that survey closes March 25th. So I think my recommendation would be, if we want to push it out to the different fire districts and police departments who are affected, they could comment individually, and then as a group we would want to comment shortly thereafter in some type of a letter or communication to the county executive and council.
Okay. So what I stammered through, she said in about 13 seconds. That I think gives us some good direction, that we could tell everybody to go to the website. I believe Deanna posted it, that you can go and apply, but then also when we put out that memo that says, apply this way, but give us the ECC what you're doing, so we could see exactly what we're talking about. And again, probably try to leverage it, that we could, get some better pricing, and then potentially go to the county executive and the county council with a letter from us saying that, here's our request on behalf of first responders, because it's so important to try to keep us all on the same platform. And if we went with the Next radio, I mean, we're talking, but my 10-15 years before it goes to end of life, hopefully.
Sure.
Hey, Greg,
Sure, we'll go.
can at the same time, can we have because I know, we here in St. Anne, we looked at buying some additional radios, and I had asked, what radio we should buy, and I guess the staff at the time, this was probably about a year, maybe 2 years ago, I don't know, about the NXT radios, that they are, kind of, I guess, proprietary, even inside Motorola, and that there would be some additional logistics for the ECC to support those. Make sure that the staff is reaching out to Motorola to find out, if there's something that the ECC needs to do to make this thing happen. So not that these agencies go out and buy these radios, don't have the work.
You get that, Mike? I think we can include that, can't we?
Sure. Yeah. And in fact, Matt, we've already started conversations with Motorola about those radios and other choices. I think the issue with the Next was they're feature loaded with some things that might be no one in any of our agencies need to use or want to use, and B, some of those features, all of them come at a cost. So,
right.
And then C, there's things that have to be done to the radio system itself to accommodate those features. And without getting into a technical discussion here, those things bring security concerns, and the way we do things would have to change, and some of the programming, and so there's the dominoes that fall when we make a move to that particular radio and its features. That doesn't mean we have to activate all the features.
Right.
But even in their simplest form, it requires us to make changes to the radio system just to make one of them, to be able to program it, for instance, looks different than how we do it today. So there's changes not only, to getting used to the radio, because they are a different, well, you've seen them, they're a different form set. They're kind of look like a cell phone on one side, and, kind of
Right.
this radio on the other. So there's some things that might be, your average fire personnel or police officer might not want to even use. It may be more geared towards admin people. But that said, we'll get with Motorola. We've already begun those talks about what are the choices. Is there for instance, rather than the next, but an 8000 or another model that's going to be around for 10, 12, 15 years. So we've started that. We've kind of got an idea of numbers of how many we'd be looking at, and obviously, like Chief, like you said, there'll be discounts based on quantity. So certainly, we'll come up with those quantities and say, the guys we're talking to, the same people we do with Motorola. So we'll keep that going and gather that information.
Yeah, I just think this is a pretty good opportunity. We can, as Craig said, if we can nail down trying to get this stuff replaced, at a cost rate, for 14 or 15 years, that'd be great.
Okay, so who do we got? I'll help with it. Who else wants to help try to get some together with staff real quick? I mean, I'm talking, we'll probably have to start talking tomorrow and just kind of get a general idea so we can get something out to everybody. And
I'll help.
Start.
This is Matt Gregg. I'll help.
Okay, I heard Matt. I think I heard Chief Lewis. So
Yeah, I would like to help. One of the other things I'd like to do is it possible for us to eventually put out a communication piece in writing that we could provide to all the entities to let them know where we are, what our role is, and also what our role is not, and best recommendations for them as it relates to their budgeting concerns versus what we're doing. Part of the issue is, and I think it's part of the confusion, I know we've communicated, and I say we because I'm part of us now, but I know you guys have communicated on a regular basis that this is not the ECC's primary responsibility once these radios reach end of life. But I would like to at least say that we should probably have some responsibility in coordinating and assisting all of these organizations and entities in doing the right thing in the right way, and then doing the whole collective group discussion with Motorola so that we can ensure that we are getting those best prices. And I guess the thing I'd like to see is, can we put something out to that we want all of these agencies to know?
yeah, I think we can work that up as part of the group, and
Okay,
and we'll run it by everybody on an email, make sure everyone's comfortable.
great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we'll get a hold of everybody and get working on that ASAP. So, all right. What else you got, Mike?
That's really all I had under my report. The 911, I'll let David Lucas, with our consultant, talk about on his report.
Okay, Dave, you ready?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. We are wrapping up the state and federal grant, which had two things. One is the Nokia project James is working on. We are just working on finalizing the invoices and getting those submitted to the state. The other is the text to 911 project. We completed testing at the data centers. That went very successful, so we can mark that off the list, and we are waiting for the invoice to submit that as well to the state. On the Next Gen 911 project, we are scheduling our testing and acceptance for early May. We have combined 2 testing into one. We had a test scheduled earlier this month, but because of testing, we found some things that were not up to par. Those will be fixed, and we'll be doing the testing the early May. This will keep us on schedule, however, to have PSAP migration in June and July. So we're still on schedule with that, and we are moving forward on that timeline.
All right, very good. Any questions of David? All right, any other consultants you want to have report, Mike?
That's it. Thank you.
All right, then, moving on to old business. Approval of correction of the Nokia microwave backhaul upgrade and maintenance proposal. Mike?
Because you haven't heard me talk enough, I'm gonna roll through this. If you'll have your packet in front of you or on your screen, hopefully you were able to take a quick look at the page entitled Nokia Microwave Upgrade Proposal Amendment. So last month, we came to you all and asked for an additional amount of money to meet the proposal that we had from Nokia for the upgrades they were doing. You gave us that, we improved that, and it was all pending us going back and, dotting
captures third answer.
dotting the I's and the T's there. And when we did that, we discovered that the February proposal actually was a little bit short on equipment to cover all of our routers and microwave hops. If you look at that sheet I gave you, right in the middle where the graphics are there, I yellowed out the February and March proposal. So bottom line is Nokia missed, and we subsequently didn't notice until we did our final review that they were about 7 routers short and about 14 microwave hops short. So to correct that, we now have a March proposal. And with that March proposal means, with that added equipment, means we need a little bit more money to finish the project. That's in green there, that's $70,029.36. That's including a discount they gave us, which they've included on the rest of the quote as well. We originally, just to remind you, we had originally taken and earmarked 1.5 million for this project back last year before we really knew numbers. It was the best guess estimate. So now at this point, we're at 1,607,472.04. That's a delta of that $70,029.36 above what I asked for last meeting. So this, the question's all probably stirring in your head. Are we coming back to you again?
Right.
The point is, we have no intention of that. This was just a clean miss by Nokia. It's going to slow their process down. They hope we're trying to get this done and get it submitted for council approval. And now obviously we're another month behind, but that's Nokia's problem, not really ours. So I'll take any questions, I guess, James and I, and we've certainly been over this enough that we can answer anything you got.
Mike, I've got a pretty simple question, Steve Lewis. You can't complete the project without this approval, correct?
Correct. It's something we've got to do. The stuff's, end of life, and we're trying to stay in step with our neighbors in Jeffco and St. Charles. They've got proposals similar to this, except we've got more equipment in the game than either of the two of them. But they are both sitting on proposals as well, and keep us all going at the same speed and have the same revisions out there. Yes, it's something we have to do.
And the miss in the numbers was their miss on counting the number of routers and hops you guys needed, correct?
It was, and honestly, we reviewed those numbers quickly. We were trying to get to a place where we could present it to you last month. So those numbers just, for whatever reason, both sides missed it. James caught it on the second round and brought it to their attention. And as he put it, we have to do it. We can't do it without having that equipment. And if we wanted to try to go ahead with what they proposed and hold them to the fire to supply the rest, I think the fighting would just slow the project down to a point that's not in our interest.
I'll make a motion that we approve the March proposal with the additional routers and hops included.
This is Matt. I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? No further discussion. We'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. All right, motion carried. Thank you, Mike. Let's move forward on that. Any other old business? All right, moving on to new business. It shows none. Do you have
Steve, I
any
do.
business? Go ahead.
I do have one thing when we get to the next meeting date. I just realized today the next meeting was scheduled for Thursday, April 14th. I will be out of town. I don't know if you all are comfortable with moving that meeting up a week, or I can have Steve run it and still do it on the 14th. It's your guys, whatever you prefer.
What's the commission's feeling? Do they want to move it up a week or?
I'd make it April 7th.
Fine with moving it up.
I'm open on the 7th.
Yeah, I can make it.
Although,
On the 7th.
since we're talking about that meeting, I would also like to discuss, can we bring the meetings back in person? Or at least a hybrid version? I guess if there's anyone that's not interested in being back in person, it seems like we're bringing business and we're doing things back to being in the same room, in the same meeting place. Is there any reason we wouldn't want to set our April meeting at least in person for the majority of us?
We have the ability, Mike, to do a hybrid.
Yeah, I've done it before. We did it a few meetings back before we had our Omicron surge, if you remember. So I'll just make sure that equipment's still in there. But I don't see a reason we can't do that. I'll probably, if like, for instance, we had one or two that still wanted to come in on video. If you remember the room, the only issue is that the seated commissioners won't be able to see the ones on video because of the way they mounted the TVs in there, but they can still hear them.
Right. Is everybody okay with setting up for a hybrid on April the 7th? All right, seeing nobody jumping up and down, we'll go ahead and plan on April the 7th. We'll make it a hybrid meeting and we'll get that information out.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything else to bring before the commission today? Going once, going twice. All right, we need a motion to adjourn.
Lewis, so moved.
Got a motion and a second.
Concur second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. If you don't say aye, you're going to be looking at a blank screen. Everybody have a great month. We'll see you on the 7th.
All right. Thanks, Danny.
All right,
Bye,
thank
everybody.
you.